Welcome back to my channel Bright Tobias, where we dive deep into the stories shaping our continent Africa. Today, we're talking about a major geopolitical shakeup in the Sahel. On April 29, 2025, a post on the media from African Hub dropped a bombshell. Russia has reportedly sent special forces with unique skills to Burkina Faso to bolster its security. But what does this mean for Burkina Faso, for Russia, and for the broader African continent? Is this a strategic masterstroke or a risky gamble? Let's break it down. First, let's set the stage. The media post from African Hub, a popular account covering African news, shared an image that tells a story in three parts. On the left, we see Russian President Vladimir Putin at a press conference, looking stern as ever. In the middle, soldiers in camouflage training in a forest, likely Russian special forces. And on the right, Burkina Faso troops in their iconic red berets, walking in formation. The caption reads, Russia reportedly sent special forces trained with unique skills to Burkina Faso to boost their security. Burkina Faso, a landlocked country in West Africa, has been grappling with a brutal jihadist insurgency for nearly a decade. Since 2015, groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have wreaked havoc, displacing millions and killing thousands. The country's military, despite international support, has struggled to regain control. This instability has led to political upheaval, 2 military coups in 2022 alone, and growing frustration with former colonial power France, which had troops stationed in Burkina Faso until 2023. In 2023, Burkina Faso's junta expelled French forces, ending a long-standing defense agreement. Why? Many Burkinabe felt France wasn't doing enough to stop the violence. Enter Russia, which has been steadily expanding its influence in Africa, especially in the Sahel, where countries like Mali and Niger have also pivoted toward Moscow for security support. So, who exactly are these Russian special forces? The ex-post mentions unique skills. But what does that mean? While the post doesn't specify, history gives us some clues. Russia has a track record of deploying elite units like the Wagner Group, or its successors now under tighter Kremlin control, to African conflict zones. The Wagner Group, a shadowy private military company with deep ties to the Kremlin, has been active in Africa since at least 2017. They've operated in places like Mali, the Central African Republic, and Mozambique, often trading security services for access to resources like gold, diamonds, or uranium. In Burkina Faso, which has significant gold reserves, this pattern likely holds true. These unique skills could include counterinsurgency tactics, intelligence gathering, and unconventional warfare. Think ambushes, sabotage, and training local forces to fight insurgents. But there's a catch. The Wagner Group's track record in Africa is mixed, to say the least. A 2022 Brookings report highlighted their failures in Mozambique, where they couldn't stop the Al-Shabaab insurgency due to poor coordination with local forces. And in Mali, their presence has been linked to human rights abuses, alienating local populations. So, while Russia might bring firepower, they also bring baggage. Let's zoom in on Burkina Faso. According to a Wikipedia entry on the Burkina Faso Armed Forces, their military is organized along Soviet and Chinese models, with about 6,400 personnel as of 2011 to 2012. They have light armored vehicles, a small air force, and a history of relying on foreign support, like U.S. training for peacekeeping missions in Darfur. But their forces are stretched thin, facing an insurgency that's only gotten worse. After the 2022 coups, Burkina Faso's junta has been desperate for solutions. The expulsion of French forces in 2023, following a similar move in Mali, left a security vacuum. As the Middle East Institute reported, anti-French sentiment has been on the rise in the Sahel, fueled by protests over France's perceived meddling and failure to stop the violence. Burkina Faso's prime minister even called Russia a choice of reason in 2023, signaling a deliberate pivot toward Moscow. Russia offers something France couldn't or wouldn't: a no-strings-attached approach to counterinsurgency. Unlike Western partners who often tie military aid to human rights standards, Russia lets local governments operate with fewer constraints. For a junta facing an existential threat, that's a tempting deal. Now, let's see what people in the media are saying about this move. The post got a lot of attention, with reactions ranging from praise to skepticism. One user called it a great move, arguing that Burkina Faso, as a baby country, can't stand up to France without Russia's help. Another user even thanked President Putin directly, showing some genuine support. But not everyone's on board. Some users were blunt, pointing out Russia's failures in Syria, where they couldn't stop the fall of the Assad regime in 2024. A point echoed in a Chatham House report that called Assad's collapse a serious blow to Russia's reputation as a reliable ally. They also mentioned Russia's hesitancy in Ukraine, suggesting Moscow often acts scared. Meanwhile, so what's at stake here? On one hand, Russia's special forces could give Burkina Faso's military a much-needed boost. Their experience in counterinsurgency might help stabilize key areas, especially around gold mines that fund the junta. But there are big risks. The Brookings report on the Wagner Group warned that their operations often lead to human rights violations, which could alienate locals and fuel further unrest. Plus, Russia's recent failures, like in Syria, where they couldn't save Assad, cast doubt on their reliability. As the Chatham House report noted, Moscow's propaganda paints them as a guarantor of stability, but the reality is messier. If Russia can't deliver in Burkina Faso, the junta might face even more instability, potentially opening the door for more coups or worse. There's also the broader geopolitical angle. Russia's growing footprint in the Sahel is part of a larger competition with the West. By stepping in where France failed, Moscow is positioning itself as an alternative to Western influence, gaining access to resources and political leverage in the process. But at what cost to Burkina Faso's sovereignty? At the end of the day, Russia's deployment of special forces to Burkina Faso is a high-stakes gamble. For Burkina Faso, it's a chance to tackle an insurgency that's brought the country to its knees, but it risks trading one foreign power for another. For Russia, it's an opportunity to flex its muscles in Africa, but their spotty track record raises doubts about whether they can deliver. What do you think? Is Russia the answer to Burkina Faso's security crisis? Or are they just adding fuel to the fire? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. We'll keep following this story as it unfolds, so stay tuned for more. Until next time, stay out of trouble.